And welcome back, Jon Sciambi, Eduardo Perez, Alex Fast. And we welcome you to KBO on ESPN, Alex Fast from Pitcher List. And we got a lot of things to get to. We're going to talk Dan Straily. We're going to talk pitching overall. But first things first, you know, we're pleasant. You into some coffee this morning? How are you? How's your haircut?
I'm living the dream. The wife did a great job, so it's growing out perfectly. I got a, this is probably my second cup at this point. I thought it was going on at 6:30, and then this game is something. It's really something else.
Yeah. That's correct.
And Boog, before you ask him those easy questions, I got a difficult one for you. You're supposed to be a numbers guy, and you get this one wrong. You said between 6:30 and 7. I saw it on Twitter. That's when I'm coming on. Can't predict baseball, my friend. You can't predict it. Has Mom been calling you at all, or what?
No, I just need to be right 30% of the time, and I could be in the Hall of Fame.
Fair enough.
Well played.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You got an article out. You tweeted it about, and we've touched on this before, but Codify, which is something that a number of Major League players, a lot of Oakland A's, Sean Doolittle, former Oakland A, Liam Hendricks, Dan Straily using Codify. Talk a little bit about what is happening as far as what Codify does and how Dan Straily uses it effectively as his scouting report for how to pitch.
Yeah, so Codify is essentially a personalized heat mapping service, right? It's going to deliver personalized heat maps to pitchers. It was created by Michael Fisher back in 2003, just as an analytics service for kind of like financial companies. He ends up meeting Dan Straily's mom at a barbecue, at a family function, right? She introduces them. They kind of hit it off. They text baseball every once in a while. And then Dan kind of falls on some tough times, right? He gets yo-yos back and forth with the Athletics, between the minors and the Athletics, traded to the Astros, traded to the Cubs, then traded to the Padres and DFA'd in the same week. And he calls Mike and he says, what's broken, right? What's broken? What do I need to do to fix this? And they kind of come up with the first iteration of these personalized heat maps. Now, when people hear heat maps, they might think like, how is a pitcher going to attack this at bat? Throw a slider, throw a fastball. But what Codify did is it made it much more specific. There's so much more going into it. There's sequencing. There's so many other things. So Dan Straily uses it to his advantage to be able to figure out specifically how to attack guys. He started today striking out 3 in a row, retired the side, showing off that curveball that was absolutely fantastic. The thing that he hits on a bunch that really stuck with me, confidence. That's what it gives him more than anything. Confidence in how to attack guys. You know all about confidence because of this thing, right? The mental ABCs of pitching. Dorfman talks about it all the time in this book, right? It's such a key thing for pitchers, and Codify really gives these pitchers confidence.
Wow, did you just promo the book? That was awesome.
I wanted to get ready for
that book's been around.
I know, but still, it was like pretty cool. Pretty cool. Now, again, Boog does the easy questions. I do the difficult ones. You mentioned bibimbap as one of the dishes that you like, and as one of the Korean foods. I love it too. What type of bibimbap do you like? Because that's how I relate to codifying my stomach and making sure that I get a good spicy level of bibimbap. How about you?
Yeah, 100%. I go all bulgogi, right? And I do as much extra sauce as possible. Give me the spiciest kimchi that you can get. I'm lucky enough to live in New York. A lot of great bibimbap places around me. Give me that bulgogi. Give me the spice. If I'm not sweating by the time I'm leaving, then I did it wrong.
See, Boog? That's codifying my stomach.
All right, so speaking of Codify, though, one of the things about these heat maps, we'll get back to food, don't worry.
No, but that was heat.
But they're predictive. So, like, when you look at a heat map, a standard heat map, it's based on what a guy has done usually. He hits this in this spot in the past. But these are predictive. Like, the best example I could give is if you throw a BP fastball down the middle to a big league hitter, 85 miles an hour, that's a bad pitch. Now, the result may end up being okay just randomly, but don't do that, is the point. So the Codify heat maps are attempt to be predictive, right?
Yeah, they do. And the example that you gave is kind of why I enjoy Codify so much, right? There's a league-wide mentality that's, based in truth, like you just said, which is don't pitch down the middle. Don't throw middle. These personalized heat maps allow pitchers to realize that sometimes that is okay, right? Sean Armstrong of the Baltimore Orioles, who's a Codify client, I believe, is a perfect example of that. He threw over 50 pitches down the middle this year with a sub-1 WOBA, which is fantastic, right? 334, I believe, is around the league average. Now, Codify posted this on Instagram, and Bud Norris, who's, former Oriole pitcher, former Astro pitcher, great pitcher as well, posted, well, how do we know that's not just luck, right? But when you have that large of a sample size, it kind of leads you to believe that sometimes Armstrong is doing this on purpose, and he's having fantastic results doing this. And that's what kind of makes the service so exciting. We're not looking at pitchers as a blob, right? We're not saying every pitcher is Garrett Cole or Max Scherzer. Some guys have different strengths that they're going to be able to work to based off their particular arsenal, based off their repertoire. And Codify really kind of helps them take advantage of that to the best of their ability, from what I understand.
Okay, so I'm listening to all this advantageous information that pitchers get. Are hitters behind when it comes to technology and data from the batter's box perspective, from all the information that the pitchers have?
That's such a great question. I would think where pitchers are is as a result of where batters are, right? Mike Trout comes in and changes the game. We change the bat path. We change, there's this, launch angle is the priority. Barreling the ball, as you already spoke about, is the priority. So batters really had the advantage in the kind of game theory that goes back and forth between pitchers and batters. And now it's on pitchers to adjust, right? It's kind of the beauty of the game. A guy like Jake Odorizzi, for example, is someone who might not have had success a few years ago, but because he's able to elevate so well at the top of the zone and take advantage of what batters are giving pitchers, he can have a lot of success. So now I do believe, to answer your question, we are kind of seeing the shift go back to the pitchers have success. Once batters start being able to take advantage of pitches at the top of the zone, then pitchers have to adjust again. But at this point, yeah, it seems pitchers have the advantage.
Talk to me a little bit about Dan Straily and what has worked for him, today against an elite lineup, but what's worked for him in the KBO so far? Because we have seen a little more curveball usage, but what's worked for him?
Yeah, the foundation is the fastball, always, right? We can get excited about that curveball, like you said, but it's really his fourth offering, right? He already has the elite level slider and the elite changeup. The fastball is kind of the bread and butter. He's been able to use these heat maps to locate them, to get ahead in the count, right? Something that some KBO pitchers struggle to do. And it seems as if he's boosted his RPM a little bit too, right? There's this unit called Bauer units, right? Which is essentially just RPM, how many times the ball is rotating, divided by a pitcher's velocity. It's a way that we can sort of normalize a bunch of different fastballs and see how much success they're having. Dan Straily was already top 50 in Bauer units last year. Now it looks like he's getting to be top 5 or top 10 or even top 15, right? So if you have that foundation there, if you have a ball that's really maximizing its spin, it's going to set up your other pitches so well. So it's going to make that great slider even better, right? So yeah, he's been so much fun to watch. I know he had the 6 Ks today. He got burned by some poor defense. It kind of leads you to believe that box scores aren't always the most indicative of a pitcher's success. There are other things we can look at other than the box score. But yeah, he's just been a blast to watch, and I'm excited. I hope he gets the chance to come back over to see him dominate some MLB hitting.
Alex, who's at the top of that of the list when it comes to the Bauer metric that you had mentioned?
Yeah, it's actually funny that you say that. I was looking into this yesterday. The very top of the list was Luke Bard. The top starting pitcher was a guy who had a lot of success last year in Mike Minor. In terms of largest increase year over year, the biggest increase came from Madison Bumgarner. He had the largest rise in Bauer units. And then guys behind him were Giolito, Garrett Cole. They also saw a pretty minimal but notable rise in Bauer units as well.
So you mentioned Madison Bumgarner, that he had the biggest rise. So this is something that you can actually, even as a veteran pitcher, work to get those numbers and that metric better?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know specifically how he did it. His spin rate went up on every single one of his pitches, which is pretty impressive. I know that in the 2018 offseason, he started using a lot more technology in his training, right, as he was coming back from injury, a lot more cameras. So, yeah, there are tweaks that can theoretically be made to boost the spin rate onto your pitches. So I can't speak to whether or not he did that, but all I can say is, yeah, spin rate up on all of those pitches. Giolito, I know, made a change with his arm slot that probably led to some increased spin rate as well. So, yeah, there are certain tweaks that a guy can do. Certain driveline guys, obviously, they have exercises that they can do to be able to boost the spin rate a little bit. You're not going to be able to have too much of a boost unless you're using a substance, theoretically. I'm not accusing anyone of that, of course. But, yeah, there are certain tweaks that you can make.
Tell me a little bit about, we were texting offline in terms of the league and just approach what you see, because it feels to me anecdotally like guys pick more. I think that the hitters are certainly more committed to not striking out, but it does feel like they're committed towards picking and not not looking at strike one, strike two. That's hammered left field. Forget it. Wow, way out. And gone for Byung-Ho Park, a guy who had back-to-back 50 homer seasons a couple of years ago, and Kiwoom right back in this one.
Boog, this was absolutely sexy with what he did with his hands. You talk about a power hitter being able to bring his hands in, still generate enough juice to be able to get this ball out of the ballpark and in a hurry. Fastball, middle in. The hands come in, and the social distancing as far as high fives in the dugout in effect. And watch his hands. Brings them in right there. Boom. Finds barrel to bat to ball. And number 52 takes 3 left turns and drives in 3 runs.
So Byung-Ho Park goes yard. Doosan on top of Kiwoom, but now it's 7-5. And Dongwon Park, who's the DH, one of their catchers as well, getting a chance to hit.
Boog, you talk about sort of a reticence to fall behind, and there's why, right? You know, there's the reticence to, why guys want to pick their spots a little bit. That ball was just absolutely crushed. That was unbelievable.
Byung-Ho Park, who played with the Twins in 2016 at a dozen homers for Minnesota. Mel Rojas Jr., a homer today, and he's got a league-leading 18 of them. Alex Fast from Pitcher List joining us. Most recent article on Codify. And the guys using that at the major league level and in the KBO. Michael Fisher. And as well, just talking pitching overall. The velocity, you're starting to see, like, for example, Lotte has a partnership with Driveline, correct? Mm-hmm. You're starting to see teams over there getting more and more into the analytics, I believe.
Yeah, you do, and for good reason, right? I mean, the average fastball velocity sitting around 88, and in some ways, the KBO is a little bit behind in that way. And if guys can start sitting in the low 90s, I mean, we talk about the kind of batter or pitcher advantage. It's really going to swing towards the pitcher's advantage. A guy I would absolutely love to see that happen to is Chang-Mo. I mean, if he can get that velocity in the lower 90s with that fastball, granted, it doesn't have the best spin rate. It's more a little bit two-seamy in terms of movement. But if he can start sitting in the low 90s, I mean, that slider is just absolutely fantastic. So I would love to see him do some drive line, maybe put on a little bit of muscle and start sitting low 90s.
Two now, and that one's well struck to right. Asun Cook there and makes the grab for out number 2.
That beautiful swing again. Talk about being
you brought up some
able
of the,
to bring the hands in.
You brought up some of the clients that Michael Fisher had. It turns out that yesterday he just got Lance McCullers to join the squad too, which is very exciting.
Wow. And again, you wonder what Lance McCullers, coming back from Tommy John surgery, obviously, but I'll be interested to see what he has him do with that curveball. You know what I mean? Like, do you see him throw it more, throw it less, all that stuff?
100%. And the curveball is such an elite offering from him. This is, a pitcher who could really do wonders in a shortened season as well. We likely won't have to worry about inning pitch as much or, limiting him. I'm not positive. I'm not an insider or anything, just kind of speculation there. The other pitch that I'm excited to see what Codify does with is the changeup, right? He doesn't throw the changeup all too often, but man, that thing is an absolute beauty. He's got some really nice pitches in his arsenal. I'm excited to see what Codify can do with him.
What jerseys you got behind you?
So I got on my left just my generic Orioles. I'm down at my in-laws in Florida. I couldn't bring all my jerseys, but my right, one of my favorite, Andre Dawson, Miami Marlins.
Wow, a Marlins Andre Dawson jersey.
I thought he was going dinos on us right there.
That's really good.
Into the KBO. I was like, wow, Alex went dinos on us.
What's the connection though? The Andre Dawson Marlins jersey. What is there a particular reason?
I think he said he really enjoyed playing for them. It was the team that got him a ring in 2003 when he was with the front office with them. And I think it's just one of those kind of fun jerseys that people forget that the Hawk ended his career with Miami in those final 2 seasons. Sadly, a little plagued by injury, but I just think it's, it's one of those fun jerseys to me that, it just cracks me up.
The old Florida Marlins, Andre Dawson. Alex, thank you for coming on with us. We really appreciate it. And we look forward to chatting with you again. Check out your stuff, pitcherlist.com, and check him out on Twitter.
Keep it spicy.